Today's episode, we're talking about the money. So, closing costs. My name is Samuel Shahan. I'm a local real estate broker with Chicago Home Partner Team at Properties. Let's dive into this episode. Closing costs, they're an important part of the real estate transaction. And like most things, there's a cost associated to purchasing a property. What we like to say is, and what the normal question we get from most of our buyers is, how much is closing costs going to actually be? So again, it's an individual question. There are going to be, we typically like to say that there's a percentage range, and it typically ranges around 2 to 3% of the actual purchase price. This is on top of your down payment. So the last episode we talked about mortgages and down payments. This is going to be on top of that. So what we like to do with our clients is we like to know what the finite amount of cash that you have that's going to go towards this property. Because what we can do then is we can say, all right, if you have, $20,000, how much of that do we want to allocate towards a down payment? How much do we want to allocate towards closing costs? Now, the closing costs are going to mainly be, the number one question is commission. Luckily for a buyer, you don't pay a real estate broker's commission. The seller side actually pays their real estate broker, and then their real estate broker has a co-op fee that they pay the buyer's agent. So it's a percentage fee that is this pretty similar to most properties across the board. So that is included for you. So working with us is 100% free, technically, for you. The main closing costs that we actually associate with purchasing a property is your mortgage. So the number one question I get about this is, will I pay interest? Well, again, there are a lot of people who are processing that loan, who are doing it on the back end. So you pay those fees. The interest rate is the bank saying, hey, we're giving you this money, this is a fee associated with it, and this is what's going to be on top of it. But again, they have to pay their processors, their loan officers, all of those people, and that's where a buyer's main real estate expenses are going to be. The other thing that I like to point out with closing costs is the transfer tax stamp fee, which is $7.50 for every $1,000 of purchase price. A lot of clients ask about why we have this. It's essentially a sales tax. When you buy a t-shirt, when you buy food, when you buy a car, there's a sales tax that's associated with it. This is where the city gets some of its money to pay for roads, improvements, all of that stuff. So that goes towards that as well. You're also going to have a couple other different closing costs that are going to be associated with the title company. These are going to be flat fees that the title company pays, and the seller will have their own separate fees as well. So now the number one question that we always get is, what are my upfront costs going to be? So upfront costs is going to be your earnest money. So that is going to be consideration for our contract. We're going to go more into that. Typically, it's $1,000 up front, right as you get your offer accepted. And then after we get through the first two contingencies, we typically increase it to about 3 to 5% of the actual purchase price. Now, this money goes towards your down payment, which will offset some of these closing costs and that down payment that you're going to need at closing, but it is an upfront cost. The other one is going to be the inspection. So depending on the size of property that you buy, this is going to be something that you can pay with a debit card or a check, and it's going to be at the time of the inspection that you actually pay for it. Now, inspections typically range between about $350 to about $700, depending if you're buying a studio versus a single family home. And then there are different add-ons that you can do. So if you want to test for radon, if you want to test for mold, there are different things that you can add on to that, which will make it more expensive, but then you get a little bit more security in your property. The other thing that I always say up front is the appraisal. So an appraisal is associated with your loan. It's how the bank evaluates the value of the property. This is typically about $500 up front. A lot of loan officers will reimburse you half of it when you close on the actual property. So those are kind of like the upfront costs associated with purchasing a house. The last thing that I want to kind of talk about is attorneys. So an attorney is something that's required, or not required, but highly recommended here in Chicago. They're the ones who take care of most of our stuff on the back end. And they're going to be your legal team that's going to help you navigate more through a transaction on the back end than I can, because I'm not actually an attorney. Typically, our attorneys charge between about $600 to $800 here in the city of Chicago. And we're more than happy to make those recommendations as well. Again, it's going to be in the description for our recommended attorneys. So we know that finances are typically not the most exciting thing, and it's not going to be the most exciting thing about purchasing a home, but hopefully you've learned a little bit and you've stuck through this video. If you have any questions, definitely leave them below. We would love to interact with you and answer all of those. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It shows that we're doing a great job and that you're liking the content that we're bringing. As always, we would love for you to subscribe wherever the subscribe button is on this YouTube channel. We have tons of new content that's going to be coming out, including educational series, neighborhood highlights, as well as our showcase feature properties. Again, we look forward to partnering with you through this transaction, and hopefully you learned a little bit, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.